with our man Jay Gadon, the most watched sports personality on a Sunday night.
Yes, sir.
Host of Sports Sunday over on CBS 13. Our man Jake Gadon. Jake, what's going on, buddy?
The only reason we got great ratings is because you fabulous people are on it on Sunday, okay? Everyone loves to see Kenny smile, and then you rip on Kenny for whatever he's doing every single week, Damian. But it's the soft eyes for me, my guy. Okay,
it's you and Sarah, man. That's the only reason these ratings be popping off like that, man.
Straight up, my guy. It's always great to have you guys there, though.
We're just happy to be along for the ride, man. Summer League likely coming to a conclusion tomorrow night for Sacramento, given the fact that they're 1-2. A couple of players have stood out. What's really gotten your attention during these games, specifically in Las Vegas? We know what the focus was here in Sacramento, and we'll get to that. But in Las Vegas, anybody grab your attention?
I think Jordan Ford deserves a roster spot. I think the guy is, like we talked about on Sunday, has played out of his mind. I think the interesting part is, I think it's the consistency that I want to see from him. Like 2 days ago, he had a dud. I think it was like 1 for 7 from the field. He was a great facilitator that game, but wasn't getting a shot going on. And then last night was able to pour it on and really got was feeling his stroke. So if he can be less streaky, but like we talked about on Sunday, he's the perfect Dellavedova spot, the end of the bench. Like I think he would be a perfect backup, a third string point guard for this team, especially in garbage time. I think maybe you still sign him to a two-way so he plays in the G League and able to get some time as well. But I've been impressed by the Folsom product. He has command of the offense. He knows how to run, how to speed up the game and then settle it down when needed. Great distributor. Last night he had 8 assists on, I think it was 19 points or 21 points, whatever it was. I like his game overall. I think he's a great veteran, quote unquote, veteran presence for a young team. The other guy that's caught my eye, and it's the rookie that everyone's been loving, is Colby Jones. Another guy that's been streaky, but you see the potential there, right? He's a lockdown defender, and when he makes the extra effort, you can really see how his game can kind of pop off in the NBA. I'm intrigued to see how they use him, though, because if he's going to slide into Terrence Davis's role from last season, TD was all over the place with how they utilized him. So I'll be very intrigued to see what type of role he'll have within Mike Brown's offense. Especially if he's a streaky shooter. Like last night, he had a terrible game. He hit the first shot of the game and wasn't able to hit anything after that. But the night before, he was on point. So consistency is the key with both those guys.
So I don't disagree with anything that you just said, but do you see either one of those guys, if they're on the roster, being part of the consistent rotation for Mike Brown? Or these guys, like you mentioned, Terrence Davis, guys that, they're on the roster, but we may see them once every 5 to 7 games.
I don't think if you're asking me they're in the top 7 or 8, there's no chance. They're in the top 10, and I could see it rotationally happening.
I don't even think they're in the top 10. I think
you don't think they're in the top 10? I think Colby Jones could be the number 10 player, and you could see him in the rotation. I think truly he's battling it out with Kessler Edwards right now, who truthfully hasn't had that great of a summer league. I was expecting more out of him, being a guy that's been in the league this past year. He's shown flashes, especially here in Sacramento defensively and then on the offensive end. I thought Kessler was going to be able to take over more games, but Colby Jones is really has stood out to me. So I think, honestly, he slides ahead of Kessler right now, and Kessler was getting rotational minutes last year. So I'm looking probably like close to 9 or 10 in that rotation right now. At least that's from what I'm seeing.
I hear you, but I think you, like a lot of other people, are forgetting Chris Duarte. I don't think he's better than Duarte.
That's true. You're not wrong on that, but how does Duarte, another guy, how does he fit into this offense, right? And we all know this, okay? You can't play defense. You're not going to see the floor with Mike Brown. That's how it is, right? You look at Terrence Davis. His biggest issue last year was consistently playing the pick and roll, being able to switch on defense, and he was never in the right spot at the right time. Can Duarte do that? I don't know, because he's coming over from the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers did not play a lot of time last year, did play a lot during his rookie season with Domas, and was a great offensive presence. But the Kings have a lot of shooters on this team. Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Like the list can go on and on. Keegan, whatever you want to say. I think defensively, that's where it's going to come down to. Can Colby Jones play better defense? Can Chris Duarte play better defense? Because offensively, they've got a lot of firepower already.
A couple of people have asked about Mike Dom. I don't think he fits. Like what he did last night was pretty cool. It's not that different than Alex O'Connell did. I think that was in Sacramento. It's very cool. It's a very good moment, and I'll still arguably my favorite, Mark Jones line is he's putting money on tape. He's Mike Dom's putting he's giving himself an opportunity with other ball clubs out there. I don't see a place for him in Sacramento or even in Stockton, unless it's one of those scenarios, Casey, that you laid out the other day, where it's like he's cut, doesn't find an NBA home, and then is brought back to Stockton as a two-way player. But outside of that, his performance last night, it was good stuff. Really good. He shot the lights out.
And I like how he played off the pick and roll as well. Honestly.
Yeah, and it's good, but that's it. Like it's good stuff. Hopefully, he can make something out of it. I just don't think he has something here in Sacramento with it, and I'm not sure that he has something in Stockton either.
You also look at the rebounding battle last night. He got out-rebounded by Sanogo, and I believe they're about the same height. I know Sanogo's probably a little bit bigger, but rebounding was the key last night. And great offensive presence. Again, just defensively, I don't think he's there.
Not a lot of rebounds in that game. Both teams shot over 50%, though, to kind of stall them out a little bit. Kenny hasn't even mentioned Jake Stevens. Jake Stevens was a guy. Kenny was so excited to see Jake Stevens this summer league. And look man started last night and you didn't even show your guy love.
Well, look, he needs more time.
Oh, okay.
He's 1 for 1. He's going to hit.
Needs more
Give
time.
him an opportunity.
Okay. Well, he is perfect from the field. So that's +9 for those keeping track in the plus minus category.
I think Kenny just likes anybody whose name is Jake. That's
you got that right.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about the fun stuff, the main roster stuff, and that performance from Keegan Murray over during the California Classic. We got a chance to watch those games together. What do you think the purpose of Keegan playing in those 2 games in Sacramento was?
To get his wiggle.
to get his wiggle. Yeah, that was a fun few days there where strong talking point.
I think the
wiggle and vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, the vanilla ice cream needs a little, as Luke Locke would say, he's great vanilla ice cream, but we need to add some sprinkles. We need to add some chocolate chips, maybe, a little sundae topping, a little cherry on top, whatever it may be. I think the confidence was what the reason he played. He has worked with De'Aaron Fox this whole entire offseason and trying to work on his one-on-one game, especially being more explosive in the paint, using his strength, and he does look bigger. You can see it in his arms. He's added 8 pounds of muscle, which is fantastic. But it's all mental. It's nothing physical. It's making sure he has the confidence to feel like, oh, I can do that in an NBA game when it comes to next summer or next fall, this winter, and then especially in the playoffs. What I was discouraged to see, because everyone could say, oh my God, Keegan was so good offensively. He dropped 41 points in that last game. The other game, he was fantastic. Defensively was his issue last year, guys. Like, of course, we're going to look at the playoffs and say, okay, he didn't show up the first couple of games against the Warriors. But there was numerous times during the season that Kessler Edwards was coming in for Keegan because Keegan could not handle his defensive assignment. So I was very keen in looking at how he did defensively in the summer league. Of course, he did well because it was guys that were mismatched against him, and he was a man amongst boys. But there were some lapses that I did see on tape when I looked it back, saying Keegan maybe doesn't have it all there defensively, and that's what I wanted to see. The offensive game is there, and he's definitely the reports coming out saying like, hey, this guy's going to be a bona fide stud one day in the NBA. He has the potential to be a big 3 at being a star on this team. Do not disagree. But he is not going to take the next leap until 2 things happen. 1, he gets confident in his midi game, being able to do the pull-up jumper, being able to explode to the basket, and then understanding his defensive assignments. If he doesn't understand the defensive assignments, he'll be taken off the floor. That's what Mike Brown does, and this is what the system that the Kings run. And I see him being able to take that next step. It's just putting it all together.
So, do you kind of answered a little bit there, but I'll ask to go a little more in depth. Do you think he has that in him to be that type of player in that position is what I'm saying, basically. Because I think he can be a stretch four. He can be that type of player. But I think they're asking him to be, this perimeter guy that defends on the wing, that defends the likes of a Paul George in certain cases and guys like that. Do you think he has that in him? Because I had my doubts in the past. I'm definitely more more of a believer than I was maybe 6 months ago. But there's still a little bit of a doubt. You think that he can reach that level on both ends of the floor to guard and to score on the perimeter?
So a great basketball coach told me this one day, and Kenny, you can agree with me or disagree with me on that. You can't teach offensive ability. You can't teach shot making ability. You can't teach that. But you can teach defense, and you can teach heart. Right, the heart thing is going to come out of how much effort you put in and everything like that. So yes, I do think defensively you can teach him. I think it's the IQ of okay, I just hit this mini shot. Okay, who am I picking up on the way back? Okay, I'm getting this defender. Okay, what's my assignment on that? Okay, so if this happens, I got to switch there, and then I got to get a rebound and go and crash the boards. Like I just don't think he has that all together. Does that make sense? Like making sure that the whole IQ of what I'm doing on a consistent, thinking 3 steps ahead instead of just thinking 1 step ahead and 1 step ahead, and then getting burned when you're not fast enough to react. So I think the IQ is there from him. It's being more comfortable and getting more reps in the NBA for that to happen. Offensively, I think he's going to be fine. And to answer your question, yes, I think he can be there. I can think he can guard the Paul Georges of the world, the Kawhi Leonards of the world. I don't know, the Draymond Greens of the world. I don't think that what's up?
I said that's easy work.
Yeah, true that. Okay, I think it's him being able to put everything together. He's so young and he has such raw talent, until it's going to click. And when it clicks, that's when it's all going to come together. And if it doesn't click, you could see him possibly being traded one of these days. But I think right now the raw talent is just so good and so incredible. I think it's still there. He's only he's going a year into the NBA, a year and a half. And it's been that first rookie year is such a whirlwind in the NBA. You get drafted, you go to the summer league, you start playing again. And then same thing this offseason. I'm hoping things can slow down from him a little bit.
Yeah, I think some would argue it's already clicked
right
for Keegan Murray. What are do you have any expectations for the Sacramento Kings coming out of, this was a very feel-good year with the beam and breaking the playoff drought, and you got all-stars and all-NBAs and all of that. And, we cautioned as it became clear the direction of the Sacramento Kings season, like, hey, enjoy this because it's going to feel a lot different next year. Expectations are going to be different. What are your expectations for the Sacramento Kings next season?
I think baseline expectation is you've got to make the playoffs. And it's not just a playing game. You got to be in that top 6. If you get out of the top 6, this offseason was a failure. Rolling it back with the same guys was not a smart idea. And I worry because everyone forgets that the Kings were, knock on wood, relatively healthy last year, really relatively healthy compared to the rest of the NBA. None of their star players missed significant amount of time. I know Domas was out a couple games. Same thing with De'Aaron. So my expectation is I don't think they're going to be a 3 seed. I think a lot of teams in the NBA, or especially in the Western Conference, got a lot better. I think the Lakers got a lot better. I like the Suns. I know they don't have a quote unquote bench right now, but that's another team. And then our friends right up the road, over in the Bay, I like the Chris Paul move. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him. I don't see him as a top 3 seed again. I see him as a top 5 seed. Wouldn't be surprised if they're a 4 or 5 next year. They're going to be a great team in the Western Conference, but a lot of teams did get better in the Western Conference, and it's going to all come down to who stays healthy, who's going to remain consistent, and who's going to be able to really – the key to the Kings last year is how fast they started that 7-game road trip, or the 7-game win streak that they had at the beginning of the season, and be able to cruise off of that. If that can happen again, you could see a top 3 seed. But I think it's going to be a different type of feel this year. They're not surprising teams anymore, fam. Every team knows the Kings are going to be a good team in the NBA. They're going to get everyone's best shot. There's no going to be when there's a back-to-back, a star player resting in Sacramento anymore. That ain't happening. you are going to get everyone's best shot next year. So let's see how the chips fall with what happens with that.
Jake, make me grab my ESPN 1320 stress ball because I think I disagreed with every goddamn thing you just said.
Okay, go for it, buddy. Tell me why do you disagree?
I think the Lakers are starting the season better this year than they did last year. I don't disagree with that, but I'm not of this belief like, oh, they got so much better. I do think they're in a far better position game one to start the season than they were game one last season.
And they started 2-10 last year. So yes, they're better than that.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't believe they're going to do that.
That doesn't mean they're going to be 10-2.
This is a semantics argument that Kenny and I got into, and I got agitated when Kenny was like, well, they're going to win 50 games, but did they really get better? And now I find myself agitated with you for saying it. I don't know that the Warriors got better. I think there's a few things to play in that, like, so the Warriors are definitively better than they were. Again,
I don't think they got better.
Oh, you don't think they did?
No.
Okay, I was like, okay, well,
I think they're about the same team.
That Dario Saric signing really changed your opinion on this.
No, remember that's what I would say. No, I was saying I don't think they got better,
but they're going to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be better because, again, we're all going into this assumption, and this is true with the Lakers, and you just did this with Sacramento, Jake, is like everyone's going to be healthy. Right. So if we go forward with this with Phoenix and they're all healthy, yeah, that's scary. If we go into this with the Clippers and they're all healthy, yep, same thing. Golden State, Los Angeles, those are all really scary teams if they're all healthy. They're not going to be. That's just the way the league works. And whether Sacramento was one of those or not, I don't know. History says they'll get by.
Mm-hmm.
History says the Warriors won't, the Clippers won't, the Lakers won't. And Phoenix won't because of their stars. They're going to miss time. I think there's a lot of compelling things that happen in the Western Conference. I think the most solid come up was the Lakers. I think there's a lot of unknowns everywhere else. You can throw, like, no one knows how this Phoenix Suns thing is going to work. No one knows. If DeAndre Ayton punched someone in game 3 and walked off the floor, and I say that tongue in cheek, would anybody really be shocked? Like, he's such a wild card in all of this. The whole Phoenix thing to me centers on two people, Brad and Book. That's it. KD, KD can adapt. Like, KD knows who he is and he's comfortable in his own skin. I don't know if Book and Beal are at that point in their careers yet. So I think there's potential for a combustible element there with Phoenix.
You guys are forgetting one major team out of this whole argument.
Well, no, I have Denver slotted at
we all assume.
I think Denver. Nothing don't get me wrong. Bruce Brown got paid, okay, but they got pieces there that I really like that didn't play a lot of minutes this past year. I think Denver. Yeah. If they have the same season they had this past season and remain healthy with Jamal, MPJ, and Jokic, like, who's stopping that team? Honestly.
Yeah. The crazy thing with Denver is Denver got bored.
Yes.
Denver clearly got bored at the end of the year. Like, we were searching for, when did Jokic play a bad game? And we had to go to that stretch at the end of the season where Denver had hit that boredom stage.
There's one thing I will say about Denver. And it sounds crazy because they were the 1 seed all year and they won an NBA championship. But I think they'll have a bullseye on them this year. I think they went through last year. Nobody believed that Denver, when it got down to it, would do what Phoenix, the Clippers, even the Memphis, we'll be fine. Even the Lakers. Like, yeah, we got them figured out after they lost game 1. Like, nobody really believed in Denver in the league, I don't think.
Well, I don't think the Lakers said that. I just think all of those people on CBS said
that. But I think they'll have a target on their back this year that they didn't have last year, and we'll see how they react to that. They were able to essentially just win games under the radar because and wrongfully, nobody believed in them to execute in the playoffs. So I think that's something that we'll see how they adapt to and how they deal with.
One sneaky team, guys, that I have for you, and I think we've all talked about this. Watch out for the Thunder. OKC. That's a young squad, and they look good. They look good in summer league. They're going to look good coming out of it. I'm telling you right now.
It's funny. I like Oklahoma City, and I do think they're going to do well.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's sort of funny how everyone, like, outside of our world here, and this was not true, by the way, for PJ and Beth last night. PJ and Beth were all about the Sacramento Kings last night. But if you asked a lot of these media people if they thought Sacramento was going to fail this year or be in the play-in, they said yes. No one has questioned whether Oklahoma City like outkicked their coverage last year.
Right.
Not one person has questioned that. We've all, like, not all of us, because I don't think you're on board, but Trista, yourself, Jake, myself, we kind of like the Thunder entering this season.
Mm-hmm.
But at no point has it been questioned, like, maybe they're not there yet. Maybe that was a bit of an anomaly, and they're actually still a year away. But with Sacramento, 2 All-Stars, 2 All-Pros, do it again. We got the Thunder damn near in the Western Conference Finals at this point, but the Kings do it again.
Well, okay, Damian, I just don't. I think that the target on their back is going to be much different. They're not going to surprise guys this year, and I like when it comes to the playoffs.
That doesn't mean they're going to get beat though. Like I don't think the Kings won a bunch of games because they all turned into surprise parties.
And
I think some of them did in the beginning of the season.
I'll tell you this, Jake. I'll tell you this. I think once, and this sounds weird. I talked about this with Matt George on his on Locked On.
Probably available at 4:00. Just an educated guess on my part.
I think once it sounds weird, but once the beam became a thing, that was a target.
Oh yeah,
I saw not just the social media teams, players ain't like no beam tonight. Ain't like no beam tonight. Would that be like that?
Well,
was
what
a
did
target.
Steph say? Steph Curry said something.
Well, Steph Curry at the end of the playoffs, but after the All-Star break, Mike Malone at the All-Star game was like, "Yeah, I hate that damn beam. We ain't lighting that beam when they play us or what." Like that was a target, and guess what? They had the second best record after the All-Star break. They had a target. They were like 15-5 after the All-Star break. So they got to see that. I agree with you. It's going to be different for a full 82. But I think that was a real thing. People didn't want to come in here and hear that crowd with a minute 30 left talking about light the beam. They were trying to shut all that down. Minnesota. Remember how Minnesota played when they could have won and people
Minnesota was talking crazy.
Yeah,
too.
so they experienced that. That won't be new for them next year. I think they'll be ready for it.
You can mark it here right now, guys. July, whatever it is, Jake Gadon got it wrong. We can roll back the tape, okay? We record it right now, okay? And we'll roll back the tape next summer and be like, see who was right and who was wrong. I'm just saying, all right? My predictions are pretty good. I did this year. Okay?
I'll bring it up to you at the parade.
We'll cut this and then we'll send it to Roland to run on Sports Sunday when we're on it. Like when Roland cut the 6-minute low light of Russell Westbrook bricks because he thought he was funny.
That's good television, Damian. You know that, okay?
We'll clip this and we'll run it back at the parade.
That's what we'll do.
The in-season tournament parade.
The in-season tournament parade, which is absolutely happening.
We're going to Vegas, right, guys?
Don't you start.
Too soon.
Going to Vegas. Get in the road trip. All right. We're hopping in. Who has the electric car out of everybody, okay? Because we gotta save on gas, okay?
What you talking about?
He's got one.
That guy, he got it.
Hey, see, we jumping in the electric car. We're gonna go through the desert, okay? It's gonna be fabulous.
I'm not driving an electric car through the desert.
Nah, I'm cool.
I don't know how many.
I don't know
how many superchargers are out there in the middle of nowhere.
He goes from LA to Vegas on that one, pretty good. Jake, I definitely want to get to Vegas with you. We talked a lot of basketball. But Collins brings up, before you go, we got like a minute and a half. Now we get to rush you the way you rush us. We got like a minute and a half. I want to know what's up with the women in Sacramento updates, Jay.
Oh, boy.
What's up?
Colin always got to know that. Okay, women in Sacramento. Let's just be honest here. I went international this past month, so the women of Sacramento have taken the back seat. We've explored England, we've explored Croatia, and we've met a lot of international women. So we've taken our search global. Okay,
man, what punch you at, man? What punch you at, man? So you can see what's going on. Where you at?
Them women ain't following you to Sacramento, Jake. We got to find you a girl here.
Okay, I'm still anybody. My Instagram at JA_Gadon.
Okay.
Send a DM, resume, PowerPoint. Thing, okay.
All right, now you're just thirsty.
You're going to Yacht Week. Next year, Damien. Come to the Yacht Week with me, okay? We'll have a great time.
That's not. That did it. I told you it looked like you had fun. I'm not sure where I'd fit in with that group, but Jake, we don't get the chance to do this on Sundays, man. So it's fun to just hang out and talk and be silly, man. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate both of you. Best in the game.